is something we struggle with greatly. It's ingrained in us from birth to be nice to everyone, give your grandma a kiss even though you don't want to give her a kiss, go to the neighbor's house even though you don't want to. We're taught from a young age that you do a lot of things for others. But guess what? There is no other. Welcome back to One's Journey of Unwinding the Mind, and of course, your daily microdose. Now tune in to the latest episode of One's Journey. Today I'm going to talk about people pleasing. Yes, people pleasing. I feel like we all have struggled with it to the point that it has caused major annoyance or guilt or shame in our life, but also we partake in it all the time when we do not even realize it. First of all, I want to talk about what people pleasing is. People pleasing is the act of essentially doing something you don't really want to do, but you're doing it out of the fear of loss of something or the need of gaining something. And we've talked that when we have that mentality around loss or gain, we place weight on something. So an example, let's say a friend calls me today and she's like, hey, Ashley, let's go for coffee tomorrow. And this friend also has some connections that I could really use for my business. But tomorrow, I'm just not feeling it. I don't feel like going to coffee with her. But I say yes for the fear of her no longer liking me or engaging with me because of what she possibly offers. So to me, that is a direct representation of people pleasing. And how I know I'm quickly entering the people pleasing zone is when I can't say yes or no immediately. But instead I'm like, well, let me think about it. Unless, of course, it's a large decision, right? A decision that would substantially take a lot of time or money or whatever else may be, and there definitely needs some planning in that decision. But a quick, easy decision, if it's not about needing to wrangle things so that it aligns, but it's instead about me having a committee meeting in my mind about doing this, really what I'm doing is I'm trying to convince myself one way or the other. So people pleasing, the reason why I bring this topic up today is because people pleasing is the ego. Because only through the ego belief system do we believe we are separate. Do we believe that I am separate from you or separate from Joe or separate from Susie, whoever? But if we did not believe we were separate, we would realize that in fact, we're all one. And by me doing something I don't want to do for you is me acknowledging our separateness and then placing weight on what that action will provide from you. And it also could be fulfilling some sort of need you're lacking within yourself, right? Meeting your own love, your own comfort, whatever it may be. We also project out to us in the people-pleasing manner. And every time we do that, we're just reiterating that, yes, the ego belief system is true, and the ego belief system is where I live. Because otherwise, if, say, a hologram came and asked you a question to do something and you didn't want to do it, you would say no, because there is no repercussions. There is no gain. There is no loss, whether you say yes or no. So back a couple years ago, I used to say, I would call it the full fuck yes mentality. If it's not an immediate full fuck yes, meaning I am all in, this is something I really want to do, then it's a no. A no all the way. And I can try to convince myself, but then I have entered the people pleasing. So oftentimes though, we feel like it's necessary, right? And when you feel that you have to do something is the moment in which you stepped into people pleasing. Because again, you are seeing some sort of gain or loss about seeing them or not seeing them. And we often feel super exhausted and we forget who we are in the process. I've had a client come to me just for the exact reason of struggling with people pleasing, and she feels exhausted because she is never meeting her own needs and instead constantly worried about those needs outside of her. And what she hadn't realized, like, she knew she was people pleasing, right? Because we talk about people pleasing all the time in society today. But what she didn't realize was that the actual weight it was, and not the effect, but the cause. So the cause is the ego belief system, which causes us to place weight on things because we're seeking our salvation in whatever that is. And then it shows up as people pleasing. So I know at the Living Miracles Monastery, that is one of their key rules is no people pleasing. But one thing that I have noticed too is people are like, oh, so you just treat everyone like an asshole. I'm guessing there is some people that do that. And my guess would be that it's because we're still in the ego belief system and we're then just switching that weight, right? So then it's like, oh, I don't have to do anything for you because you're not real. Well, we're all a representation of Christ. And I'm going to do another video later about seeing people as yourself, and the quote in the Bible about treat your neighbor as yourself. There's a difference between that. There's a difference between just not having any care for anyone else and not coming from a place of love versus people pleasing. So I think when you're really coming from a place of love, you see them with love, and you lovingly, or you show up as love. So it's received differently when you say no, or when you do something that is more in alignment with you than with them, or you lay boundaries, right? Say you've decided not to drink and you have a friend coming over for the weekend, and usually that's what you do is drink all the time. Well, people pleasing would be not telling her and hoping that you're able to stay strong on your own, because you wouldn't want to rock the boat because she's used to a certain way of you guys hanging out. But not people pleasing is having that conversation from a place of love ahead of time and sharing your parameters of, this is where I'm at in my life, and this is what, as a friend, I need from you, because really you are needing that from yourself. And also when we get into the people pleasing, we begin to feel like we're being walked all over, because in fact you're walking all over yourself. You're just constantly stuck in this cycle of doing things for others, hoping to receive your salvation from them, which we know we will never receive salvation from anyone else, because what we truly want is the love of God, and nobody else can provide us the love of God. That needs to be found within. But through our brother, we can come in contact with that. But the problem is then you're just setting yourself up for disappointment over and over again, and it turns into this cycle that builds shame and guilt and resentment, because you're doing these things you don't really want to do in the first place. And yeah, is there things in life that we have to do that we don't want to? Yes. Or not have to. We always get to choose, right? It is always a choice. You never have to do anything. Let's say pay bills. Do I like doing that? No. Is that people pleasing? Well, it could actually be seen like that. But realistically, we also have to practice a level of discernment in understanding that we are actually in this illusion and we still have to function in this illusion. So I'm not saying tomorrow just show up and be like, screw everyone, screw everything. I'm not people pleasing. Again, my thought system around that, if that's how you showed up, would be like you fully entered the ego belief, because you just have swung the pendulum the other way of weight, and you've fully placed weight on not doing anything for anyone else but yourself. So it's that fine line of in the middle of being true to you and doing things because you truly want to do them, and checking yourself, am I seeking something in this, or am I fearful of losing something from an outcome of what my decision is in this question? But people pleasing, I think, is something we struggle with greatly. It's ingrained in us from birth to be nice to everyone, give your grandma a kiss even though you don't want to give her a kiss, go to the neighbor's house even though you don't want to. So we're taught from a young age that you do a lot of things for others. But guess what? There is no other. So the second you enter that, you're back into the ego belief system. I hope this video helps you to relieve some weight that you've been carrying and realize how important it is for you to follow your truth. Because you cannot show up for the things that you want to show up for if you are constantly showing up for the things you don't want to. You have exhausted all energy and you have exhausted. You're not coming from a place of the Holy Spirit. You're coming from a place of the ego, and we know what that ends up like is separation and sacrifice. So you're going to stay in that constant state. As always, share when have you people pleased, when are some times that you're now paying attention to it and you're making a different choice. I would love to hear about it. It is definitely a journey, and until next time, remember you are worth it. Much love. Bye.